Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from today. We have some major updates about the sabotage attack that was conducted in NATO territory inside of Poland, the attack that shocked all of Europe, the United States, and NATO. I said right from the jump, I guarantee you the Russians did this. Some people thought, no, maybe it was a false flag. Maybe it's not real. And then lo and behold, a day later, here we are with some major new details showing just how dangerous this situation is. So I'm going to get into exactly what happened. We're going to give a brief rundown of what we knew yesterday. I'm filming this on November 18th. So all information is up to date as of November 18th. So I'll give a rundown. Then we'll get into the new information as well as a little bit of an update out of the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. So we got a lot to get into. Before we do, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free. Cost you guys nothing. Huge boost to the channel. Comment with your thoughts below. How do you want to see NATO respond to Russian aggression? How do you think the war in Ukraine ends? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that notification bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. And then right here, Instagram, David_Hookstead, X, D Hookstead. That's where you can find me online. If you have a good tip or something, you just want to reach out and say hello, my DMs are wide open on Instagram and Twitter. So please reach out with whatever you got. Now, let's get into it. As we all know, Ukraine and Russia continue to throw haymakers at each other and conduct massive strikes, both sides targeting energy infrastructure, both sides trying to get some kind of edge, mostly through the air, missiles, drones, cruise missiles, bombings, all of that stuff. And of course, the fighting on the ground is nothing short of absolutely brutal and horrifying. However, a big story that needs to get much more attention is the Russian aggression against NATO. Russia is regularly violating NATO airspace. Russia is regularly flying drones into NATO airspace. They flew drones into Belgium over a base that houses our nukes, American nukes. I believe B-61 nuclear bombs are housed there. They also flew fighter jets into Estonia. They flew 3 MiG-31s into Estonia. They were there for 12 minutes before NATO forces were scrambled and pushed them out. They also flew a fighter into Lithuania, and President Trump and others are demanding that those planes be shot down. They are demanding that something be done to stop this Russian aggression. It was always obvious to everyone paying attention that the next clear step was going to be sabotage. Now, we knew this because Poland previously stopped a sabotage attack about, a month or two ago? But this sabotage attack got through. So these are the previous details that were announced. It says a rail line in Poland was blown up Sunday in an unprecedented act of sabotage. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Monday, vowing to catch the perpetrators. The affected line links the capital, Warsaw, to the eastern city of Lublin and continues onward to Ukraine. It has been used to deliver aid to Ukraine without specifically accusing Russia. Tusk connected the apparent attack to the war in Ukraine. Blowing up the rail track on the Warsaw-Lublin route is an unprecedented act of sabotage, targeting directly the security of the Polish state and its civilians. This route is also crucially important for delivering aid to Ukraine. We will catch the perpetrators, whoever they are. Then it says Tomasz Somaniak. I don't butchered it yesterday, butchered it again. Polish security services minister said Monday that there is a very high chance sabotage had been carried out on the orders of a foreign intelligence. So at the time when this came out, what happened is this critically important rail line that connects Poland and Ukraine, goes Warsaw, Lublin, then goes into Ukraine. And they've been using this rail line to deliver resources to Ukraine, got blown up. So the rail line was blown up. It was not an accident. They knew it was a specific attack that had unfolded. As soon as I heard the details, said this is clearly the Russians. No question about it. This is clearly the work of Russia. And to me, it was wild that anybody would have been like, no, probably not the Russians. Guys, do we really think the Russians wouldn't blow up a rail line? Do we really think covertly they wouldn't try and to go do that? Well, we now have the answer. So this comes from Reuters. Poland, of course, a major member of NATO, one of the best NATO allies we have, one of the strongest powers in NATO, says Russian intelligence likely behind railway sabotage, Poland says. Just like I told you. Now, there's a little bit of a twist here. It says everything points to Russian intelligence services commissioning sabotage on Polish railways that damaged a track on a route to Ukraine over the weekend. A spokesperson for Poland's Special Services Minister said on Tuesday the comments were the first in which an official Poland security services have made public suspicion that Russia was behind the explosion, which Prime Minister Donald Tusk called an unprecedented act of sabotage. Asked about the investigation into the incident, spokesperson Jack Dobrynitsky told journalists the authorities were securing evidence, gathering information, and verifying the information they've gathered so far. You are aware that those who commissioned the sabotage, and everything indicates that these are Russian intelligence services, which would very much like to know in which direction the proceedings conducted by the police and internal security service are heading. The government held an extraordinary meeting of the National Security Committee on Tuesday, meeting with the participation of military commanders and heads of services and a representative of the president to discuss the suspected attack. Now, there is also some reporting out there that the people that bombed the rail line that were working for the Russians actually came from Russian-controlled areas of Ukraine, are known agents of Russian intelligence, and then snuck back into Belarus after the bomb. So they know they know at least two of the bombers, and they got back into Belarus after attacking the rail line inside Poland. So right now, the Polish government is saying, hey, we've got a 5 o'clock alarm. We've got a code red. It was the Russians. It was the Russians, which is exactly what I told you. So right here is almost certainly the unit, the GRU, that carried out the attack. So you can see this on the screen. It says the main directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, formerly the main intelligence directorate and still commonly known by its previous abbreviation GRU, is the foreign military intelligence agency of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, tasked with advancing military intelligence through collecting and analyzing intelligence from around the world and conducting clandestine and covert operations. The GRU controls the military intelligence service and maintains its own special forces unit, unlike Russia's other security and intelligence agencies, such as the Foreign Intelligence Service, Federal Security Service, and the Federal Protective Service, whose heads report directly to the president of Russia. The directorate of the GRU is subordinate to the Russian military command, reporting to the Minister of Defense and Chief of General Staff. The directorate is reputedly Russia's largest foreign intelligence agency and is distinguished among its counterparts for its willingness to execute riskier, complicated, high-stake missions. Going into a NATO country and blowing up a rail line is obviously well within what we would consider risky. So that's the unit that almost certainly is responsible. I'm going to pull this off the screen here, tee the next thing up. Oops, messed it up actually. Hold on. All right, here we go. All right, so I told you it was the Russians. All the evidence pointed to the Russians. This is well within the Russian playbook to conduct an operation like this that then their fingerprints might not be on it officially. They can disavow it. They can say, we have no information about this. We don't know who these people are who did it. This is classic Russia. The Soviets did the same thing. The Russians do the same thing. This is what they do. And only an idiot would look at this information and not come to the conclusion that it was obviously the Russians from the jump. Remember, they arrested Russian agents a few months back attempting to do the same thing. So what Russia continues to do is test the limits, see what it can get away with, and now they have carried out a bombing attack on NATO territory. Poland will certainly exercise different levers in the NATO toolbox to get help here, to get support. I would be shocked if they don't. They're already holding meetings. Now, is this going to trigger World War III? This bombing, we're not going to start World War III over this bombing. Not going to happen. But what could happen, and what likely will happen, is the United States will flood resources into the region, beef up security on that flank of NATO. We are already flying B-52 simulated bombing runs. We flew them right up to the Russian border, flew them right up to Belarus's border. So we are already making moves to counter Russian aggression. But the next thing that could happen is if they fly the planes over again, if they fly planes into Russia if Russia flies planes again into NATO territory, I would not be shocked down if they get shot down. Would not be shocked if they get shot down. Wouldn't be shocked one bit. In fact, I expect that to happen because NATO now has to send the message following an attack that is confirmed to have been carried out by the Russians on its territory. And Poland, there's a lot of countries in NATO that don't pull their own weight. We all know this. President Trump talks about it all the time. NATO is much better off with Poland being in it than without Poland. Poland spends an incredible amount of GDP. Poland has a highly trained, highly professional military. Poland sent guys to Afghanistan, sent guys to Iraq. There's some reporting Polish GRU was involved in the fight against ISIS. So Poland has a long and storied history of answering the call when America needs a partner to help us in the fight. They are a great NATO ally. Now, as well as this, while this is going on, Ukraine carried out another massive attack. Says the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has announced that it carried out a major attack overnight against the territory of the Russian Federation without specifying a specific target, utilizing American-provided MGM-140 Army tactical missile systems. This announcement follows reports this morning from Fighter Bomber and several other Russian-affiliated channels of a Ukrainian ballistic missile attack consisting of between 5 and 6 missiles last night against the Voronezh Oblast in western Russia. So while this is unfolding, you have Ukraine continuing to unleash on Russia. And now they might give Ukraine more weapons because NATO has been attacked. And again, this is not going to start World War III. Let's not, I don't think it is. Crazier things have happened, but I don't think it will. But NATO is going to respond in some fashion. They don't have a choice. Russian spies on behalf of the Russian government went in to Poland, a great NATO ally, and blew up a strategic target. What more do you need? Something's got to be done. So that's where we are at as of November 18th. I want to know what you guys think. How do you want to see NATO respond? Because we know they have to respond. You can't get bombed, even if it's covert, clandestinely, whatever you say. You can't tolerate it and not respond. So I want to know, how do you think NATO should respond? Let me know in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free, cost you nothing. Huge, huge, huge boost to the channel. Hit that bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. And then right here, Instagram, David_Hookstead, X, D Hookstead. That's where you can find me on social media. My DMs are wide open. Reach out with whatever you have, and I will be sure to look into it, or just reach out and say hello. I love talking with you. You guys are the best audience on all of YouTube. I'll see y'all next time.